And we just got on to talking about Behind the Shroud, which was it's a movie that I read about today, came out from a company called Lone Wolf Films, who I believe is Selwyn Manning's own production company. I'm not sure. He's on the phone actually, so we're going to ask him. It's why Ahmed Zawi was set free. It's a documentary, an hour and a half, and a documentary feature film that examines the Ahmed Zawi case. Hello, Selwyn.
Yeah, hi, Karyn. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Oh, it's an honour.
Yeah, just reading about Behind the Shroud and just clarifying some of the stuff that's in it in relation to the $4 million. I was just reading on Scoop today that $4 million it's claimed was wasted money by the New Zealand taxpayer keeping Ahmed Zawi confined.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, what that's about is the cost of holding him in prison, but most significantly the defence. The cost of his defence, really, and also the unknown cost, in addition to that $4 million, of how much money was used by the SIS, the New Zealand Security Intelligence Service, and the government itself in arguing its case that the man was a terrorist. So the amount of money is just astronomical, and it's a kind of money that we know was spent over, 2002, this time 2002 through to 2007, the end of 2007, that could have been used for other things that were obviously going to, help progress this country in some way. What we found from this whole Zawi affair was that New Zealand security intelligence apparatus, the agencies, not just the SIS, but at the time the External Assessments Bureau, they failed the New Zealand government and they failed the public on not assessing whether or not the information they had received from France and Belgium and Switzerland was accurate or not.
And in terms of the information that they did receive, obviously it set the alarm bells ringing for them. Do you cover that off in the movie?
Yeah, we do. We go a bit more than that, Andrew. What we did is we kind of looked at what caused the government in 2007 to abandon its case against the guy. What caused them to suddenly tell the New Zealand public that he's no longer a risk to New Zealand, he's no longer considered a terrorist, and he's free to live here, and his family has been invited to join him. Those unanswered questions are what preoccupied the investigation, really. And one of the key witnesses that answers some of those was kept secret from the New Zealand public, and that witness was a guy called Lieutenant Colonel Mohammed Samraoui, who happened to be, in the 1990s, the Algeria regime's head intelligence officer in North Europe. And why he was significant was because he'd been given the job by his superiors to either neutralise, which meant killing opponents of the regime, or creating disinformation around those that were not so important and not so significant, but were still an irritant to the regime. And Zawi came into that latter category, according to him. And he said, I know what we did. This is what we did. I know why we did it. And I know that because I was the guy that actually masterminded the approach on Zawi. And so he was a real key find, really, and developed that contact with him through from around 2007 to 2010, and interviews up in Germany with the guy checking the backstory and going into it in fine detail to make sure that it held water. But he was the secret witness, really, that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right. Are you saying that the misinformation that he and his people were putting out there to the New Zealand government was that this guy's a terrorist?
Yeah, what had happened is back in the 1990s, Zawi, who most people know, was probably you'd probably know, was a politician in the sense with an Islamic group that won the first round of vote in 1991 in Algeria. Then the military overthrew that. It conducted a coup d'etat and threw out those elected MPs. They were scattered around Algeria for a time, and then some were murdered and assassinated, and others were tortured. Most of them fled via Morocco to North Europe. Now, then it became the job of the DRS, which is the Algerian regime's intelligence service, to hunt them down to find who was a problem, who was a significant problem, try to remove those by way of assassination, which I understand they did on numerous occasions, and others where they created this disinformation campaign. Zawi came into that. Why he popped up on the radar in that area was He was a part of a number from his party in exile that were in discussions in Rome, what they called the Rome Statute or the Rome Accord, where they were discussing ways of finding a dialogue with the Algerian military-led regime. The military, apparently, according to Samraoui, their top intelligence officer for Europe, the regime didn't want that to occur, so they started to discredit, and the way they did that was to create things like they put out a statement under the banner of an organisation called the GIA, which was supposedly an Islamic terrorist organisation, and they put the statement out saying that the GIA had created a government in exile, and Selwyn was one of the leaders of it. And that's the way that they inserted into the official record that Selwyn was a part of a terrorist organisation.
And the hope to get him back.
Yeah, to get him back, but mainly to shut him down, and they were successful in doing that. There were court cases where the Algerian regime, via Samraoui says, what we did here was we gave information across to the Belgian judiciary, also the French judiciary. We said this information has come from investigations that we have done in Algeria. Here's the proof that it's gone through the courts. He's got 3 convictions here for terrorist-related offences, and he has a death warrant on his head that should he be brought back to Algeria. So all of these kind of things were sewn into the official record, the court cases in Belgium and France themselves, and that record and all that information came to New Zealand, which obviously spooked our spooks.
Right, okay, got it. All right, so has Selwyn himself seen your film?
Yes, he has. I showed it to him about 3 weeks ago. What
does he think of it?
Well, there are a few parts in there, particularly with this guy, Mohammed Samraoui's testimony, that explained a few things to Ahmed Selwyn. There were a couple of times there relating to the method in which they went around having him arrested, where Selwyn kind of made a comment of, right, kind of thing, where it was a few dots were being connected. The other part was an area where he was clearly quite upset, and that was where near the end of the documentary, Mohammed Samraoui makes a comment where he paints a picture of Algeria and why it still considers Selwyn to be contrary to the regime's interests.
Right.
And he makes a comment saying, let's face it, Algeria is not his home anymore, and alluded to the fact that if he went back there, it would be the end of his life.
Is it a happy? So, is it a happy ending for him now here in New Zealand?
You know, it's I don't know. I mean, he wants to get back and see his extended family. Obviously, all of us would if we're in his situation. He's suffered for all these years of being chased around there, trying to convince people that he, wasn't a threat to them, but people looking sideways at him. There's no winners in this whole thing, from what I can see there, Andrew. If you look at Mohammed Samraoui, he's defected from the regime himself. He's loathed obviously by the factions and the people that he was a part of hunting down and having removed.
Yeah.
And he's loathed by the regime he used to serve. He's under fairly strict conditions, but under the protection of Germany at the moment, and has been for a few years now.
How long did it take you to make this film, Selwyn? How many years?
Oh, it's taken a while. There's footage in there that goes back to around 2004, but most of the time was from around 2007 through to now.
Sorry, your interest in it was, did you feel that there was a miscarriage of justice somewhere along the way and you just wanted to unearth it?
Yeah. Well, there were a few things that even from a journalist point of view, Karyn, that didn't stack up right early on. I was a bit late on the scene. There are other people like Gordon Campbell in the media that were right onto this very early in the piece. I guess I started to take notice a little bit around 2003. I attended a few High Court kind of proceedings. There were a few things that it was the reaction of the Labour-led government at the time, honestly. I think that kind of raised a few eyebrows around there. It seems almost like they were not listening to contrary theories on what the real situation may have been, but they were very, very forthright in pushing the SIS's case. And I just thought that was a little bit strange coming from a Labor government, which we usually kind of enjoy from the point of view of they've got more attention to human rights. So from that point of view, I was interested in looking at it. And the more you got into it, the more you thought, hang on a minute, this doesn't add up here, and that doesn't add up. If it's not adding up to us as journalists, surely those in the government should be able to see this.
So when's it released, and where do we get to see it?
Well, it's been, I've kind of done it the other way around. I've released it to the public, and they can get it by going to this website, lonewolffilmsnz.com, and they can get to see it now. It's going to have a public screening in Auckland in March, and that's at, there's a brand new fantastic theatre that shows HD, high definition, works really well. That's just about complete. Its construction's nearly finished at AUT University, right in the heart of the city. So it's like walking distance from Queen Street, a couple of minutes down the road. So it's going to be released, its first public screening there. And, and then just through community groups, ground up, really, instead of the other way around.
Behind the Shroud, okay, and I'm sure it's going to create a lot of conversation. Look forward to seeing it. And are you, just as a matter of interest, Selwyn, are you related to Deborah Manning?
No, a lot of people ask that. I remember I was up in Istanbul on an assignment a few years ago when just after this case was big in New Zealand, and one of the New Zealand Foreign Affairs people asked me the same thing, and I said, no, mate, no, I'm no relation. I think Deborah's, the Manning and Deborah's married when she was married to a guy called Simon Manning, and
right.
I don't think I'm related in any way. My grandfather had 8 brothers, so there's a possibility, but not that I'm aware of.
Oh, very good. Hey, well, thank you very much. That's fascinating, and really look forward to seeing it, and congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers, Selwyn. Bye. That's Selwyn Manning, and yes, as he said, you can get it online, which has gone the other way around, Behind the Shroud, and he says it's why Ahmed Zawi was set free is the byline, and it's screening next year in March, so that'll be a big one.